It's good to have you here as the day lets go, somewhere in the soft column of your throat. A low hum is waiting. The same vibration a monk lets roll through his chest. The same warm buzz an opera singer rides for hours. When that sound moves at the right pitch, something deep in your nervous system seems to feel it, and a body that has spent all day braced for danger begins, quietly, to set the weight down. No long meditation, no careful breathing drill, just a frequency in the flesh, and it leaves a strange question humming in the dark. Why would the calmest hearts on earth belong to people who simply make sound? Close your eyes. Let a low note gather in your throat. Soft as breath, nothing to master here. Only a vibration the body already remembers. Welcome to Sleepy Science Facts. So let us follow that quiet hum inward, toward the answer it has been carrying all along. Somewhere in your body right now, a small electrical conversation is happening that you never agreed to and rarely notice. Your heart is being told how fast to beat. Your stomach, how hard to work. Your lungs, how deep to draw. And none of it waits for your permission. This is the autonomic nervous system, the part of you that runs the machinery of staying alive while your attention is busy elsewhere. Most of us only meet it when something feels wrong. The chest that won't unclench. The breath that stays shallow. The sense of being keyed up with nowhere to go. Tonight, we begin gently, because there may be a single, quiet doorway into that hidden control room. And your own voice may be the key. The feeling of being permanently on edge is not imagined, and it is not weakness. When your body holds itself in a state of low, constant alarm, it is running a program designed to keep you safe, just running it far longer than it was ever meant to. Your muscles stay faintly braced. Your jaw rests a little too tight. Your breathing shortens without you choosing it. Researchers describe this as a nervous system biased toward threat, scanning for danger, even in a quiet, safe room. You are not broken for feeling this way. A very old survival system is simply doing its job with the volume turned up, unable to find the switch that tells it the emergency has passed. Inside that autonomic system live two opposing voices, and almost everything you feel in your body is a negotiation between them. The first is the sympathetic branch, the accelerator. When it speaks, your pupils widen, your heart quickens, sugar floods your blood, and your body prepares to act. The second is the parasympathetic branch, the brake. When it speaks, your heart slows, your muscles soften, and energy turns inward toward repair. You are never purely in one or the other. You live in the shifting balance between them. Understanding that balance is the beginning of understanding why some nights your body simply will not let you rest. No matter how tired your mind has become, the sympathetic branch is the part most of us know too well, even if we've never named it. Physiologists sometimes call it the fight or flight system because it evolved to power one of two responses to danger: confront the threat or escape it. In a true emergency, it is a marvel. Adrenaline and a cousin chemical called noradrenaline surge through you in under a second, sharpening focus and routing blood to your muscles. The trouble is that this system can't tell the difference between a charging animal and an unanswered email, a looming deadline, or a worry replayed at midnight. It answers every alarm the same way, with the body of someone preparing to run. The parasympathetic branch is the quieter half, and the one most of us have lost easy access to. It is often called the rest and digest system, because when it leads, the body turns from defense toward maintenance. Your heart rate eases, saliva returns to your mouth, the gut resumes its slow, patient work of breaking down a meal, healing, and growth, which the body postpones during alarm, finally get their turn. This is the state in which sleep arrives naturally and deeply. The remarkable thing, which we'll return to again and again tonight, is that this calming branch is not entirely beyond your reach, and one nerve, in particular, carries most of its voice. Imagine your nervous system as a single car with two pedals and one driver who never sleeps. The sympathetic system is the accelerator, pressed when the road demands speed. The parasympathetic system is the brake, pressed when it's safe to slow down. A healthy life is not flooring one pedal and ignoring the other. It is a fluid, constant interplay, speeding up to meet the day and easing off to recover. Chronic stress is what happens when the accelerator gets stuck and the foot on the brake grows tired and weak. The car keeps racing long after the road has emptied. The question that quietly shapes this whole hour is simple. Can you learn to find that brake again? Deliberately. By yourself. There is a measurable signature to a body stuck in alarm, and it shows up first in the chest. When the sympathetic accelerator dominates, your resting heart rate tends to climb and settle higher than it should. A heart at true rest can be slow, steady, and almost unhurried. A stressed heart idles fast, as if the engine never quite returns to neutral. Research links a chronically elevated resting heart rate with poorer recovery, more fragmented sleep, and a body that struggles to fully stand down. You may have felt this without measuring it. Lying still in the dark, aware of a pulse that seems too loud, too quick, for a body that is supposedly doing nothing at all. Here is a detail that surprises almost everyone. The people in the world with the slowest, calmest resting hearts are often not athletes, but practitioners of breath and sound. Long meditating monks and trained singers have repeatedly shown unusually low resting heart rates and a striking capacity to shift their bodies toward calm at will. For a long time, this looked like a gift, something earned through decades, or born into a rare few. But the more carefully scientists looked, the more they suspected it was not magic at all. It was a skill, leaning on a specific piece of anatomy that every human body already carries. The same piece, it turns out, that you carry right now. To find that piece, we have to meet the nerve that does most of the parasympathetic system's quiet work. It is called the vagus nerve, and its name comes from the Latin word for wandering, a fitting name for a nerve with the longest and most rambling path of any cranial nerve in the body. It leaves the brainstem and meanders downward, sending branches to the throat. The heart belongs and far into the gut. Anatomists count it as the 10th cranial nerve, sometimes written simply as cranial nerve 10. Of all the parasympathetic fibers in your body, this single wandering nerve carries an estimated 3 out of every 4. It is, in a very real sense, the main cable of your calm. If the parasympathetic system is the brake, the vagus nerve is the cable that connects the pedal to the wheels. And that changes everything about what feels possible For most of your life, the choice to calm down has felt like willpower against a tide, telling a racing body to slow and watching it ignore you. But a cable can be reached. A cable can be stimulated. Researchers have spent decades learning that the vagus nerve responds to specific physical inputs, and that some of those inputs require no clinic, no device, and no special training. Tonight's quiet thesis is taking shape in the dark. The brake on your stress response may be something you can press on purpose, and the way to reach it is already in your throat. The vagus nerve does not only send commands down, it spends most of its time listening. Studies of its fibers find that roughly 4/5 of them are afferent, meaning they carry information up to the brain rather than orders down to the body. Your vagus is constantly reporting on the state of your heart, your breathing, your stomach, the chemistry of your blood. This is why a calm body can produce a calm mind, and not only the other way around. The brain is forever reading the body's bulletins. When those bulletins say all is well, the breath is slow, the heart is steady, the brain has reason to lower its guard. A two-way conversation you can quietly join from either end, because the vagus listens as much as it speaks. Your inner state is shaped by signals you rarely think of as emotional at all. The slow rhythm of a deep breath, the gentle pressure of a full stomach, the soft vibration of a low sound in your chest. Each of these is a message traveling up the vagus toward the brain to the listening nerve. These are signs of safety, signs that there is time to digest, to rest, to repair. Anxiety, by contrast, often rides on the opposite signals: shallow breath, tight belly, silence broken only by a fast pulse. The body and mind are not separate negotiators here. They are reading the same wire, and that wire runs straight through territory you can touch with your own voice. To understand how alarm gets stuck, it helps to know that the fight or flight response was built for sprints, not marathons. In our distant past, a threat appeared. The body surged. The danger passed. And the parasympathetic brake brought everything gently back to baseline. 2 minutes. Not months. The system assumed recovery would always follow. Modern life quietly breaks that assumption. The threats now are rarely physical and rarely resolved. They linger as worries, obligation, and screens that never go dark. The surge comes, but the clear, all-clear signal often never does, so the body waits, half-braced, for a danger that never arrives and never leaves. And the brake, unused, slowly forgets how easily it once engaged. There is a word scientists use for how strongly your vagus brake is working, and it's worth knowing: vagal tone. High vagal tone describes a nervous system that can shift smoothly into calm and recovery. Low vagal tone describes one that struggles to apply the brake at all. Tone here doesn't mean muscle. It means the strength and readiness of the signal flowing through that wandering nerve. Research associates higher vagal tone with steadier moods, better sleep, and a body that bounces back faster after stress. The encouraging part, which we'll keep circling tonight, is that vagal tone behaves less like a fixed trait and more like a trainable capacity, something that can be coaxed upward with practice. You cannot see your vagal tone, but there is a clever window onto it, hidden in the rhythm of your heartbeat. A healthy heart does not tick like a metronome. The time between beats subtly stretches and shrinks. Especially with your breathing, scientists call this heart rate variability. And counterintuitively, more variability is usually the healthier sign. It means the vagus is actively, moment to moment, fine-tuning the pace, easing the heart on the exhale, releasing it on the inhale. A heart locked into rigid, unchanging timing often signals a tired brake and a dominant accelerator. So that flicker of variation in your pulse is, in a sense, the sound of your calming system still doing its job. This is why heart rate variability has become one of the most trusted everyday markers of vagal tone. Researchers and clinicians use it as a kind of dashboard reading for the parasympathetic system. When variability rises, the vagus is engaged and the body is leaning toward recovery. When it falls, and the heartbeat grows mechanically even, the stress response is likely in charge. People living under chronic stress tend to show lower heart rate variability. A quiet fingerprint of a brake worn thin. None of this requires special equipment to matter to you. It simply confirms something your body has been telling you all along. That calm is not a mood you talk yourself into, but a physical state you can move toward. Notice how breath keeps appearing at the center of this story. That is not a coincidence. The vagus nerve and your breathing are intimately wired together, which is why breath is the oldest and most reliable handle on the nervous system we possess. With each slow exhale, vagal activity rises and the heart is gently reined in. With each inhale, it eases off slightly and the heart quickens. This is the very rhythm that creates healthy heart rate variability. It also explains why a long, unhurried out-breath can take the edge off panic within seconds. You are not distracting yourself from fear. You are pressing, physically, on the brake cable that fear had jammed. But breath is not the only road to the vagus. And here, the story begins to turn toward tonight's real surprise. The vagus nerve sends branches into the throat and voice box, the muscles you use to speak, to swallow, to hum. This means the act of making sound is not separate from your nervous system. It runs through the same wiring as your calm. When those branches are gently engaged, they can carry signals of safety upward, nudging the whole system toward rest. For a system we usually think of as utterly beyond conscious control, the pace of the heart, the tide of stress hormones, this is a quiet revelation. There may be a back door, and it opens with the throat. Consider what actually happens. Physically, when you hum a low, steady note, the sound is not only heard, it is felt as a fine vibration in your throat, your chest, even the bones of your face. Those vibrations occur in the same region the vagus nerve threads through on its wandering path. Early research into humming and chanting suggests this gentle, self-made vibration may help stimulate the vagal branches there, encouraging a shift toward the parasympathetic state. It is a strikingly humble idea that a sound you could make right now, requiring nothing but a breath and a closed mouth, might press on the very cable that governs your calm. We are not there yet, but you can feel the door beginning to open. This reframes those calm-hearted monks and singers entirely. Their unusually slow, resting hearts may owe less to mystery and more to mechanics, to years spent producing long, low, resonant sounds, sustained chanting and trained singing demand slow, controlled exhalations and steady vibration through the throat and chest. The exact conditions that engage the vagus and lift heart rate variability. In other words, they may have been training their vagal tone all along. Without ever using the word, the practice that looked spiritual was also quietly physiological, and if the mechanism is physical, then it is not reserved for the devoted few. The same throat that lets you speak a sentence can do a version of the same work. There is a reason this works through sound rather than thought, and it returns us to how the nervous system is built. You cannot simply command your heart to slow the way you raise an arm. The autonomic system was deliberately placed beyond direct conscious control, so that survival never depended on remembering to breathe, but evolution left a few side doors. Places where voluntary action brushes up against involuntary machinery. The breath is one, the voice, riding on that same breath and the same vagal branches, is another by choosing to make a slow, low sound. You are reaching the unreachable indirectly, using something you can control to gently steer something you cannot. And so the path of tonight begins to clarify. The body stuck in fight or flight is not stuck because you lack discipline. It is stuck because the usual route to calm, willing yourself to relax, speaks a language the autonomic system does not understand. The system listens to physical signals: slow breath, low vibration, the steady hum of safety carried up the vagus nerve. Research suggests these inputs can be supplied on purpose, in minute, without years of training or any device at all. The promise taking shape is gentle but real. That the brake on your stress response is not lost, only out of practice, and that you may be able to find it again with nothing more than the sound of your own quiet voice. Let yourself sit for a moment with how ordinary the tool is, not a prescription, not a machine, not a distant retreat, just a breath drawn slowly in and released as a low, resonant hum. Studies of this practice are still young, and the body's responses vary from person to person. So it is fair to call it promising rather than proven. But the underlying anatomy is not in doubt. The vagus nerve runs where the hum vibrates, and the parasympathetic brake is real. What feels almost too simple to believe is grounded in plumbing you have carried your whole life. The most accessible path to calm may also have been, all along, the most overlooked picture. To then, a different relationship with the long, hard days. Instead of lying in the dark, hoping sleep will rescue you from a racing body, imagine spending 2 unhurried minutes deliberately speaking to your nervous system in its own language. Slow exhales carrying a soft, low sound down through the throat and chest. Each hum, a small message up the vagus. The danger has passed. It is safe to slow. The work of repair can begin. Research on vagus-engaging practices suggests even brief sessions may nudge the system toward recovery. You would not be forcing calm. You would be inviting it. Through the one channel the body has always trusted, and asking far less of yourself than 30 silent minutes ever did. So here, at the close of this first quiet stretch, the shape of the night stands clear enough to rest on. Your stress is carried by a real, mapped system. Accelerator and break. Sympathetic and parasympathetic. And the break runs largely through a single wandering nerve you can reach. Monks and singers were not given calmer hearts. They trained them through sound, whether they knew it or not, and the door they used is the same one in your throat. Opened by something as small as a hum, held for a couple of minutes before sleep. You do not need to master a discipline to begin. You only need to remember that your voice was a path to your calm all along. Let your eyes close, and let your breath grow slow and long, as if you had nowhere at all to be, somewhere in the quiet of your chest. That wandering nerve is listening to the pace of your heart, the depth of your breath, the soft signals your body keeps sending up into the dark. Think, without effort, of those calm-hearted monks and singers, and how the secret they carried was never out of reach. It lives in the same throat that is resting now. The same breath, moving gently in and out of you. You don't have to do anything with this yet. Just let the idea settle that calm is not a far-off skill, but a quiet conversation your body already knows how to have, and that you can borrow that ancient technique in only a couple of minutes. For now, let the question stay open and warm, and let us drift on together toward where it leads. If these first few minutes have already loosened something in your shoulders or your breath, stay right here with us. There is far more ahead, and it only grows gentler. Settle in. Let the night carry you, and let your body remember the calm it has always known how to find. You carry a nerve so long and so wandering that the ancient anatomists named it for the act of roaming. Vagus, the wanderer. It begins deep in your brainstem, slips down through your neck, beside the great arteries, and branches out to your throat, in your heart, your lungs, and most of your gut. No other cranial nerve travels this far or touches this many organs. It is the longest of the 12, and it is the main road of your parasympathetic nervous system. The rest and recover branch, right now, in the quiet of this room. It is already murmuring to your heart, and the strange thing is, you can speak back to it. The first surprise about this nerve is which way most of its traffic flows. We tend to imagine the brain as the commander, sending orders downward, but research shows that roughly 80% of the vagus nerve's fibers are afferent, meaning they carry signals upward, from your body to your brain. Not the other way around. Only about 20% are efferent, the outgoing commands, so your body is mostly reporting in how the gut feels, how the heart paces, how the throat hums. The brain you think is in charge spends most of this circuit listening. You are, in a quiet sense, being narrated to from the inside. Here is the detail that makes humming more than folklore. As the vagus descends through your neck, it sends out a pharyngeal branch and a superior laryngeal branch, and these wire directly into the muscles and lining of your throat and voice box. The superior laryngeal branch reaches the region around your vocal cords. The recurrent laryngeal branch loops back up to supply the cords themselves, so the same nerve that whispers to your heart also threads through the machinery of your voice. Your larynx and your heart share a cable. That shared wiring is the quiet hinge this whole night turns on. Though we are not done explaining it yet, when you hum, you set that shared cable trembling. A sustained hum vibrates the soft tissues of the throat and larynx at a low frequency. Research often points to a range near 90 to 120 Hz for a relaxed adult voice. Those vibrations pass through the very region, the laryngeal branches of the vagus innervate. You are not meditating, not controlling your breath in any complicated way. You are simply making a low, steady sound and letting the throat shake. The wandering nerve feels the tremor in tissue. It has wrapped itself around for your entire life. Sound becomes touch, and touch becomes a signal traveling inward. This is why a chant, or a long, resonant hum, has shown up in human practice for thousands of years. Long before anyone could name a nerve, monks intone, singers sustain. Across cultures, people found, without the anatomy, that holding a low sound in the chest and throat settles something. Research suggests the resonance does real physical work. Not only psychological, soothing, the vibration reaches nervous tissue that the conscious mind cannot touch directly. You cannot will your heart to slow by deciding to, but you can hum and let the body's own wiring carry the decision somewhere you were never given the keys to reach. There is a second pathway, and it runs through your ear, a small branch of the vagus. The auricular branch, sometimes called the nerve of Arnold, is the only place on the entire skin's surface where this deep internal nerve comes up to be touched. It surfaces in part of your outer ear, around the canal, and the small inner ridge. This is why modern researchers have built devices that gently stimulate that patch of ear to reach the vagus from the outside. Your inner organs have, in your ear, a single doorbell to the surface. Most people live a whole life never knowing the button is there, resting against the side of their own head. The vibrations of humming and chanting do not stay sealed in the throat. As you sustain a tone, the resonance travels through the bones and soft tissues of your head, reaching the chambers of your skull and the region of your ears. Research suggests this resonance can reach the auricular pathway as well. So a single hum may brush against more than one branch of the wandering nerve at once. The throat through the laryngeal branches, the head through the ear. One simple sound, several quiet doors. You are not performing a technique so much as making your own skull ring. The way a struck bell goes on humming in itself. After the strike, there is also a chemical that rides along with the hum. When you hum through your nose, the vibration stirs nitric oxide from the sinuses. Studies have measured noticeably more of this gas than quiet breathing produces. Research suggests nitric oxide can relax the smooth muscle lining your blood vessels and airways, helping them widen gently. It is a small molecule that may support the body in opening and softening where it had been clenched. So the hum seems to do two quiet things at once: vibrating nerve tissue and seeding the breath with a molecule that research links to easing the vessels. The body may have more than one way to be told that it is safe. Now follow the nerve in the other direction, downward, into the dark. The vagus does not stop at the chest. The large majority of its fibers descend into the abdomen, wrapping the stomach and intestines in a fine mesh of sensing threads. This is the spine of what scientists call the gut-brain axis, and because most of the nerve is afferent, the gut is doing far more talking than listening. The feeling you call a gut feeling is not only metaphor. Your belly has a direct line upward, and it uses it constantly. The unease you carry some nights may be your gut reporting in on a channel you were never taught to hear. This reframes the loneliness of a restless body. When you lie awake feeling wired, tense, unable to switch off. It can seem like a private malfunction, as if your body forgot how to rest and only yours is broken. But the machinery underneath is the same in every human chest. Every person carries this wandering nerve, this 80% upward flow, this throat that can speak to the heart. Research describes the same anatomy in all of us. The stuck, on-edge feeling is not a flaw unique to you. It is a shared circuit, caught in a shared setting, and shared things can be reached. To understand how the hum reaches the heart, you have to meet the heart's own metronome. Tucked into the wall of your right atrium is a small cluster of specialized cells called the sinoatrial node. It fires on its own, setting the rhythm, your natural pacemaker. No battery, no conscious effort, left entirely alone. It would beat faster than your resting pulse. Around 100 times a minute, something is holding it back. Gently, all day long. That something is the vagus nerve, resting its hand on the node, like a musician laying fingers across a string to keep it from ringing too loud. The brake is always lightly on. The brake works through a single, soft chemical signal. When efferent vagus fibers reach the sinoatrial node, their endings release a neurotransmitter called acetylcholine. Acetylcholine binds to receptors on the pacemaker cells and slows the rate at which they fire, stretching the gap between beats, easing the rhythm down. This is the molecular reason. A vagal signal calms the heart, not force, but a quiet message that says, you can take longer between beats now. Each slowed heartbeat is one molecule's worth of permission, delivered to a node of cells that has been keeping time faithfully. Since before you were born, this is the loop that explains the monk and the opera singer's slow, steady pulse. The throat hums. The laryngeal branches of the vagus feel the vibration. Afferent fibers carry that signal up to the brainstem, and the parasympathetic response reflects back down the efferent fibers to the sinoatrial node, where acetylcholine eases the beat. Research suggests this is part of why people who chant or sing for years tend toward low resting heart rates. They were, without naming it, tuning the cable between voice and heart every day. The lowest pulses in the world may belong to people who simply made a calm sound often, and notice what your role in this actually is. You do not slow your own heart. You cannot reach down and adjust the firing of the sinoatrial node by wanting to. That lever was never handed to you. What you can do is hum. You can make the throat vibrate and let the wandering nerve do the part you were locked out of. It is a strange kind of agency. You do not perform the calm. Few invite it, and a system older than your conscious mind carries it the rest of the way. The body keeps a few controls behind glass, and sound is one of the keys. So the secret was never a feat of willpower. The body stuck in fight or flight is not broken. It is simply waiting on a signal it can recognize. Sent down a channel, built for exactly this. You have been carrying the instrument your whole life. A nerve that runs from throat to heart to gut. Mostly listening, always reachable through a low, steady sound. Research suggests 2 minutes of humming before sleep can lean on that ancient brake and tip the body toward recovery. You do not have to force rest. You only have to give the wanderer something to feel and let it carry the message the rest of the way home. Let that on-edge feeling soften for a moment. It is not a flaw in you. only a body still waiting to be told it is safe. Feel the faint warmth in your throat, where the hum would live. The one cable that runs all the way down to your steady, patient heart. There is a reason a hum feels like it belongs to your whole body, not just your mouth. When you close your lips and let a low tone rise, the sound does not stay in the throat. It spreads into bone, into the chest, into the small chambers of the face. Sound is vibration, and your tissues carry it the way a still pond carries a ripple. The throat behaves like the body of a stringed instrument, with its own natural frequencies where the vibration grows strongest. Studies suggest the human voice settles most easily into a low, steady register, precisely because that is where the throat resonates with the least effort. Every mind that hums finds this place. You are not making the sound work. You are letting it find its own shape. Here is something quiet and surprising about that hum. It floods the inside of your nose with a gas your body uses to calm itself. The gas is nitric oxide, made in the lining of the sinuses. And in 2002, researchers Eddie Weitzberg and John Lundberg measured what happens when people hum. Nasal nitric oxide rose about 15-fold compared with breathing out quietly. The reason is mechanical. The oscillating airflow of a hum stirs the sinus chambers, sweeping that stored gas out into the breath. You draw down. Research suggests nitric oxide may help relax the smooth muscle lining blood vessels and airways, easing them open. So a hum does something a silent exhale cannot. It carries a soft chemical signal of opening into the body. On its own, you may notice that when you hum, you cannot rush the breath out. The sound has to ride a slow, steady stream of air, and that single constraint quietly lengthens your exhale. This matters more than it seems. Your heart speeds slightly when you breathe in and slows when you breathe out. A rhythm scientists call respiratory sinus arrhythmia. The slowing on the exhale is the vagus nerve doing its work, releasing acetylcholine to ease the beat. Research shows that breathing patterns with a longer exhale than inhale trigger stronger cardiac vagal activity than even or inhale heavy patterns. So humming does not just relax you by feeling, it reshapes the breath into the exact form the parasympathetic branch responds to most. Think for a moment about why a long exhale, of all things, became the body's signal to stand down. The vagus nerve threads from the brainstem to the heart, and on every breath out, it gently applies a brake, pulling the heart rate down. A short, sharp breath keeps that brake light. A long, slow one lets it press fully. This is not a habit you learned. It is wiring shared by every human nervous system, a function tuned by evolution to match calm breathing with a calm heart. Studies suggest this is why slow, exhale-weighted breathing reliably nudges the body out of alarm. Your fight or flight system is listening to your breath as evidence, and a slow hum tells it, without words, that the danger has passed. There is a particular speed of breathing where the body seems to fall into step with itself. When the breath slows to about 5 or 6 full cycles a minute, roughly 1 breath every 10 seconds, the rhythm of the heart and the rhythm of the lungs begin to rise and fall together in phase. Scientists call this resonance, and it sits near a frequency of 0.1 Hertz, the natural pace of the baroreflex that regulates blood pressure. At this tempo, The swing in heart rate grows to its widest, and heart rate variability, a marker of a flexible, recovering nervous system, reaches its peak. A relaxed hum often drifts naturally toward this slow pace. The body is not forcing the rhythm. It is finding a frequency it was already built to favor. What makes this resonance feel so settling is that nothing in you has to manage it. At around 6 breaths a minute, the heart, the lungs, and the blood pressure reflex stop pulling against one another and start moving as one smooth wave. Researchers describe it as coherence, the separate rhythms of the body locking into a single, gentle oscillation. Studies suggest that practicing this slow, resonant breathing raises parasympathetic activity and lowers the sympathetic, stress-driven side over time. You do not have to believe in it for it to work, and you do not have to concentrate. The hum sets the pace. The breath stretches long, and the systems that usually run in tension quietly synchronize for a body stuck in alarm. This is the rhythm of being let off the hook. It is worth noticing how often, across the world and across centuries, the deep traditions of chant landed on the same low, droning pitch, the long om of meditation, the sustained tones of monastic singing, the throat songs held for many seconds. None of these reach for a high, bright note. They sink toward the low end, where the sound is felt as much as heard. There is a physical logic underneath the practice. Low pitches let the exhale run long and steady. They set the chest and skull humming, and they fall easily into that slow, resonant breathing rhythm. These traditions had no instruments to measure the vagus nerve, yet, feeling their way by experience alone, they found the frequency that calms a human body. Consider what all of this means for the lowest resting heart rates ever recorded. Those of long-practiced monks and trained singers. They were never doing something the rest of us cannot. They were simply spending hours inside the conditions you can now name. A low, resonant tone, a long and gentle exhale, a breath slowed near 6 cycles a minute, a vagus nerve pressed steadily into its breaking rhythm. The astonishing calm in their bodies was not a gift of temperament. It was the patient result of a nervous system trained, day after day, toward recovery, and every mechanism behind it lives, unchanged, in you. The same nerve, the same reflex, the same throat ready to resonate. So, the strange feeling that humming shouldn't be enough is worth answering directly. It feels too small to matter. No discipline. No ritual. No 30 minutes of stillness. But the smallness is the point. A hum bundles several of the body's calming levers into one effortless act. It lengthens the exhale. It engages the vagus nerve. It stirs nitric oxide into the breath. It drifts toward resonant timing, and it sets your tissues gently vibrating. You are not bypassing the work the monks did. You are using the same doorway they used, just for 2 minutes instead of 2 hours. The technique was never theirs alone. It was always a property of the human body, waiting for anyone who closed their lips and let a low sound rise. This is the quiet truth at the center of the night. The switch that turns off your body's alarm was never hidden, and it was never out of reach. A nervous system that has lived too long in fight or flight does not need to be argued out of it. It needs to be shown. through breath and vibration. That it is safe to stand down, a slow hum, is that showing it speaks to the vagus nerve in the only language it trusts, to long exhale, a steady low tone, a rhythm the body recognizes as rest. You do not have to earn this calm or master it. You only have to let the sound begin. And let the oldest reflex you carry do what it has always known how to do. Notice the place in your body that has been braced, the shoulders held, the jaw set, the quiet readiness to react that never quite switches off. That bracing is not a flaw in you. It is a body that has been kept on watch too long, waiting for a signal it could trust. Tonight, you carry that signal yourself. The low sound, the slow breath out, the gentle pressure of the vagus nerve easing the heart. These are not techniques to perform. They are an old language of safety, and your body already speaks it. There is nothing left to defend against right now. Let the readiness loosen. One breath at a time, we will stay here a little longer, where the alarm finally rests. Long before anyone mapped a vagus nerve, people across the world were already using their voices to quiet their own bodies. In monasteries, in temples, around night fires, humans found that certain sounds, held low and long, settled the heart. They did not have the science, they only had the result. A steady chest, a slower pulse, a mind that loosened. What feels like an exotic technique tonight is really something far older than any tradition that claims it. Every culture seems to have discovered the same quiet door, each one believing it had found it first. Tibetan monks chant in a way that can drop their voices into an astonishingly low register, sometimes producing more than one pitch at once. The deep tone sends a slow, even vibration down through the throat and chest. Exactly the kind of steady oscillation the body reads as safety rather than threat. Researchers who have recorded these chants describe remarkably stable breathing and heart rhythms during practice. You do not need their years of training to borrow the principle. The low note you can make right now reaches the same nerves theirs do. The same soft machinery, waiting in every throat. Gregorian chant, sung in stone chapels for over 1,000 years, has a curious physical signature. Each sung phrase is long, drawn out across a single slow breath, so the singer naturally exhales for many seconds before the next inhale. That long, even exhale is precisely what tips the nervous system toward calm. The monks were not trying to slow their hearts. They were trying to pray, but the shape of the music quietly shaped the body underneath it, the way a riverbed shapes the water without ever touching where it means to go. In 2001, researchers in a British medical journal tested something unexpected. They had people recite the Latin rosary, then chant a traditional yoga mantra while measuring breath and heart. Both practices, it turned out, slowed breathing to almost exactly 6 breaths a minute. At that pace, the rhythms of the heart and the lungs and the blood pressure fall into a single synchronized wave. The prayer and the mantra came from opposite ends of the earth, yet they tuned the body to the same frequency. Two traditions, blind to each other, had each found the same hidden setting. Why does 6 breaths a minute matter so much at roughly that pace? The natural rise and fall of your heart rate lines up with the rhythm of your breathing, and the two waves begin to reinforce each other instead of fighting. Scientists call this resonance. The same effect that lets a small push at the right moment send a swing higher and higher. The body has a tempo where everything agrees. Slow chant, long prayer, and steady mantra all happen to land near it. Your nervous system, it seems, was built around a rhythm you can step back into. The same study found that this slow, resonant breathing strengthened something called the baroreflex, the body's automatic system for steadying blood pressure. When the baroreflex grows more sensitive, the body recovers from stress more gracefully, and the parasympathetic, the rest and recover branch, gains the upper hand. What the monks and the mantra singers were doing, without any instrument or theory, was tuning this reflex with sound. The instrument was simply the voice, and the remarkable part is how little was required. Not effort, not belief. Only a breath stretched out, and a sound carried along its length. There is a breath in the yoga tradition called Brahmari, named for a kind of bee, because you hum softly on the exhale, and the sound fills your whole head. People have practiced it for centuries to calm the mind before sleep or prayer. The hum lengthens the out-breath and fills the throat and skull with gentle vibration. Modern recordings of people doing it show shifts toward the calming, parasympathetic side of the nervous system. An ancient tradition built an entire practice around the simple act of humming, the very thing your own throat is shaped to do. When you hum through your nose, something measurable happens in the air itself. Studies have found that humming markedly raises the amount of nitric oxide in the nasal passages, a gas that research suggests may help open airflow and support healthy circulation in the sinuses. Researchers are careful here. They do not claim this. Gas explains the calm you feel, and the mechanism is still being studied, but it hints at how layered a simple hum really is. One soft sound stirs the air, the throat, and the nerves at once. Doing several quiet things, your awareness never has to track. The syllable Om, chanted across many traditions, ends in a long humming that vibrates the lips, the skull, and the chest. In one small brain imaging study, scientists watched what happened while volunteers chanted it. Several deep emotional regions of the brain, including parts tied to fear and alarm, appeared to quiet down. Settling into lower activity, the researchers compared the effect to gently stimulating the vagus nerve from the outside. The sample was tiny, so this is a soft finding, not a hard law, but it points, again, toward the throat as a doorway inward. That same study offered a careful guess about why. A clear sensation of vibration runs through the head during the chant, and the vagus nerve has a small branch that reaches the skin of the outer ear. The vibration, the researchers suggested, may stir that branch and send a calming signal upward into the brain. It is still a hypothesis, not a settled fact, and honest scientists say so. Yet the picture it paints is striking. A sound made in the throat, reaching up to touch a nerve in the ear, and through it, the oldest alarm centers of the mind. Lullabies appear in nearly every human culture, and they share a strange family resemblance. They are slow, they are repetitive, they ride a gentle, swaying rhythm, often pitched low and soft. Parents who have never met, separated by oceans and centuries, sing to their infants in almost the same shape. It is as if the species already knew which sounds settle a small, frightened nervous system, and the body that was soothed by those songs as a child still carries the same wiring. The hum that calms an infant and the hum that calms you are not two different things. A lullaby works on the baby, but quietly, it works on the one singing too, to carry a slow, soft melody. The parent must breathe slowly and steadily, exhaling across each long phrase. That breathing alone nudges the singer's own heart toward calm, so the act of soothing another person settles the soother as well. Through the very same mechanism, two nervous systems, drawn down together by one shared sound, long before science could explain it. The night was full of people quieting themselves by trying to quiet someone they loved. When people sing together in a choir, something happens that no single voice can do alone. To stay together, the singers must breathe together, taking air at the same phrase marks and releasing it across the same long lines. Their breathing falls into step, and because breath and heartbeat are linked, their heart rhythms begin to rise and fall in a shared pattern too. One careful study found that the heart rate variability of choir members drifted into synchrony, guided by the structure of the music, a room full of separate bodies, briefly beating as one slow tide. That same choir research found the effect was strongest with the most structured songs. A steady mantra pulled everyone toward the same slow rhythm, close to the calming pace seen in the prayer studies. The music itself was doing the tuning. The singers did not coordinate their hearts on purpose. The shape of the song reached past their intentions and arranged the bodies underneath. It is humbling to realize how readily the nervous system answers to sound. You do not have to decide to be calmed. The right rhythm, met halfway, simply takes you there. Step back, and a single shape emerges from all of it. The cloistered monk, the mantra singer, the parent at the cradle, the choir in the loft. Across every separation of language and belief, humans kept arriving at the same discovery, that a low, slow, sustained sound made in the throat can reach in and steady the body from within. None of them needed the anatomy. The voice was the tool, and the nervous system was always listening, what science is only now naming. The species has been quietly practicing for as long as there have been throats to hum and nights to get through. Consider how unlikely it is that all these traditions converged. They had no shared textbook, no common teacher, no way to compare notes across the centuries. Yet temple, chapel, nursery, and meditation hall each landed on slow breath and sustained tone. When unrelated cultures independently discover the same thing, it usually means the thing was never invented at all. It was found, already present, waiting in the shared design of the body. The calm in the chant does not belong to any one faith. It belongs to the human throat. And so it belongs tonight to you. There is a reason the throat keeps appearing in this story. The vagus nerve, the body's main cable for rest and recovery, sends fibers to the muscles of the voice box and the back of the throat. Sound made there does not just leave the body. It stirs the very region the calming nerve runs through. This is why the voice can reach a system that thoughts cannot command directly. You cannot will your heart to slow, but you can make a sound, and the sound speaks a language the nerve already understands. The opera singer belongs in this lineage too. Though the goal looks different, to sustain enormous, soaring phrases. A trained singer must master a deep, controlled, unhurried breath, drawing air low and releasing it with exquisite slowness. That breathing is, by its nature, the slow exhale that calms the nervous system. It is part of why disciplined singers can show such steady, resilient heart rhythms. The art was built for beauty, but the body it shaped is a body practiced in slow breath. The technique and the calm came quietly. In the same package, notice what unites the monk, the mantra, the lullaby, and the aria. It is not the words, which differ in every tongue. It is not the belief, which differs in every heart. It is the physical shape of the act. A long, slow exhale carrying a sustained vibration. Strip away the culture and the meaning, and the same bare instruction remains underneath them all. Make a low sound, and make it last. That is the common root. The thing every tradition wrapped its own story around, and it costs nothing, and asks no faith, and works while you sleep. This is why you do not have to belong to any of these traditions to use what they found. You were not handed a mantra or trained in a choir, yet you carry the same throat, the same vagus nerve, the same resonant chest. The inheritance is not cultural, it is anatomical. It was waiting in you before you were taught anything at all. The monk did not install the calm. He only learned to reach a switch you already own. Tonight, with no lineage and no instruction, you can reach the same one. There is a quiet kindness in how forgiving this is. You do not need the right note, the right word, or the right tradition. The body responds to the broad shape. Low, slow, sustained. Not to perfection. A clumsy hum works. A wordless drone works. The nervous system is not grading you. It is simply feeling for a familiar rhythm and following it down. All the elaborate practices are refinements of something crude and reliable underneath. And the crude version, the one you can do badly and tired, in the dark, is already enough to begin. Think of how rarely the body gives us a control we can actually use. Most of our inner workings run far below the reach of will. We cannot decide to digest, or command our blood pressure, or talk our hearts into slowing, but the voice sits in a rare place, half voluntary, half wired into the deep machinery of rest. It is one of the few handles we have on a system that otherwise ignores us. Every chanting tradition, knowingly or not, was gripping that same handle, and it has been within your reach this entire time. Across all of this, the time involved keeps turning out to be small. The prayer studies measured their effects in minutes of slow recitation, not hours of discipline. The hum, the mantra, the long-sung phrase, each begins to shift the body almost as soon as it starts. The traditions wrapped these moments in lengthy ritual, but the active ingredient was brief. This matters for you. Here, tonight, you are not being asked to undertake a practice. You are being shown a switch. And switches do not take long to throw, and the body remembers between attempts. You do not lose the wiring by neglecting it. The vagus nerve, the resonant throat, the resonance at 6 breaths a minute, all remain exactly where the monks found them. Skip 100 nights and the door is still there, unlocked. On the 101st, there is nothing to maintain, nothing to keep up. nothing that decays if you forget. This is perhaps the gentlest part of the whole inheritance. It waits for you, without keeping score. Ready. The moment you remember it exists. So here is the thing every tradition was circling. The voice is a manual switch on the nervous system. When you make a low, sustained sound and stretch the exhale, you speak directly to the nerve that governs rest. You do not need 30 minutes of meditation, or years in a monastery, or any belief at all. A couple of minutes of slow humming before sleep is enough to nudge the body out of its braced posture into recovery. Minute, not hours, a switch, not a struggle. The calm the monks made famous was always a setting in the human body. The dial under your hand the whole time. Let a low hum gather in your throat now, soft and unhurried, and feel it spread through your chest like warmth into cold hands. This is the same vibration the monks made, the same one the lullaby carries, happening in you, right now, asking nothing of you. Your body has spent the whole day braced, ready for a danger that never came. You can set that down here. There is no effort left to make, no note to get right, just the slow sound and the long breath beneath it, carrying you the rest of the way toward the calm that was always yours to reach. The off switch was never something you had to buy or earn. It came installed. The vagus nerve is the longest of your cranial nerves, wandering from the brainstem down through the throat, heart, and gut. And it has been with you since before your first breath. Every calm you have ever felt passed through it. You don't need a device or a teacher to find it tonight. It is already threaded through the same throat that carries your voice, waiting for the gentlest signal to begin. There is a reason calm seems to start in the throat. A branch of the vagus nerve, the pharyngeal branch, runs directly through the muscles of your voice box and the back of your mouth. When sound vibrates that tissue, the nerve feels it as plainly as your fingers feel warmth. This is why humming, chanting, and even soft singing reach the nervous system so quickly. The path is short, private, and entirely yours. A doorway to rest, hidden in the place you already use to speak. You do not have to believe in it for it to work. The vagus nerve does not ask for faith or focus. It responds to the physical fact of vibration, the way a struck bell responds to the hammer. Researchers measuring heart rate during slow humming have watched the body shift toward calm, even in people who doubted anything would happen. Your nervous system is more honest than your worries. It answers the signal it is given, whether or not your busy mind is paying attention. The technique costs nothing, and that is part of its quiet beauty. No subscription, no app, no perfect cushion, no 30 silent minutes you cannot spare. The monks and singers with the slowest resting hearts were not using anything you lack. They simply spent years bathing the vagus nerve in low, steady sound. You carry the same instrument in your chest. Tonight, you can borrow their secret in the time it takes a kettle to cool, lying exactly where you already are. A body stuck in fight or flight is not broken. It is loyal for most of human history. Staying braced meant staying alive. So the nervous system learned to keep the alarm running long after the danger passed. What feels like a flaw in you is really an old protector that never got the message that the night is safe. The hum is one way to send that message at last. Allo, wordless signal that says, gently, the threat is over. You may stand down now. Your exhale is already a switch. And humming simply leans on it. The vagus nerve quietly applies a brake to your heart with every breath out, slowing it a beat or two. A rhythm scientists call respiratory sinus arrhythmia because a hum can only happen while you breathe out. It naturally stretches that calming half of the breath. Each long, vibrating exhale presses the brake a little longer. You are not forcing peace into the body. You are lengthening a pause. It already knows how to take. The sound that soothes you is low, not loud. The vagus nerve responds most warmly to gentle, steady vibration, somewhere in the range of a quiet, comfortable hum, roughly the pitch of a contented sigh. You do not need volume or effort. A barely audible buzz felt more than heard is enough to reach the nerve. In fact, the softer, the better as sleep approaches, until the hum is little more than a warm thought with a sound dissolving at the edge of silence. The vibration may even reach a hidden chamber behind your nose. Researchers have found that humming lifts the flow of nitric oxide from the sinuses, a gentle gas that research suggests the body may use to widen blood vessels and ease the passage of air. It is one small sign of how far a simple sound travels inward, touching tissues you will never see. The hum does not stay in the throat. It spreads, quietly tending parts of you that have asked for nothing all day. You can find the switch with your hand as easily as your voice. Rest your palm lightly on your chest or the front of your throat as you hum, and you will feel the vibration gather there. Proof, in the simplest terms, that the signal is reaching the nerve. There is something tender in feeling your own calm arrive through your own touch. No instrument tells you it is working. Your body does, in a language older than words. Buzzing softly under your hand. 2 minutes is not a shortcut. It is enough. The nervous system does not need a marathon of stillness to begin shifting gears. It needs a clear, repeated signal. And a couple of minutes of slow humming gives it exactly that. The calm does not arrive all at once, but in small steps. Breath by vibrating breath. Like a room cooling after the lamp goes out. You are never failing meditation by finding 30 minutes impossible. You simply needed less than you were told. The off switch travels with you everywhere because it lives inside your own throat. There is no setting where it is unavailable. Not a sleepless bed. Not a long night. Not a moment when everything else feels out of reach. You cannot forget it at home or lose it in a move. Of all the tools a stressed body might wish for, this is the one that can never be taken away. Wherever you are when the alarm rises, the answer is already there with you. Your body remembers how to rest, even when your mind has forgotten. The parasympathetic state, the rest and digest mode, is not something you build from nothing. It is the body's resting home, the place it returns to when the alarm finally quiets. Chronic stress only covered the path. Like leaves over a trail, the hum does not install calm. It clears the way back to a calm that was always underneath. Waiting. The way the ground waits beneath snow for spring. This is the gift of slowing the heart on purpose. People with the lowest resting heart rates, those monks, those singers, are not calmer because their lives are easy. Their nervous systems simply learned, through years of low sound and slow breath, to keep the vagal brake well-oiled. What took them decades? You can begin tonight. Knowing the direction is the same. Every gentle hum is a small rep for the nerve that quiets you. A body teaching itself. Again, how to come down. There is no wrong way to do this. And that mercy matters. You can hum on any note, for any length, with your lips closed or barely parted. You can stop and start. You can drift mid-hum into breathing and let the sound return on its own. The vagus nerve is not grading you. A body braced for danger has been judged enough today. Here, at last, is a practice that asks for nothing but the willingness to make a soft, low sound and let it move through you. And here is the quiet truth the calmest people on earth have always known. You do not need 30 minutes of stillness to come home to yourself. You need only a few minutes of low, steady hum before sleep to coax the parasympathetic nervous system back into its mode of repair. The whole secret of the monks and singers folds down to something you can do tonight. In the dark, with nothing, the switch was never far away. It was in your throat the entire time. The same nerve that quiets your heart also tends your gut. The vagus nerve carries far more signals up from the belly to the brain than down the other way, which is why calm in the body and ease in the stomach so often arrive together. When you hum toward rest, you soothe not one organ, but a whole quiet network. Heart, lungs, and gut settling in turn. The peace you make in your throat reaches places you cannot point to. And they rest too. You share this off switch with nearly every creature that breathes. The vagus nerve is ancient, present in animals long before humans existed, governing the same rest and recovery state in a sleeping cat. Estildia, a drowsing bird. The calm you reach for tonight is not a human invention or a modern trick. It is one of the oldest settings life has proposed, the body's way of putting itself away safely. When you hum yourself down, you join a quiet that has moved through this earth for millions of years. The fight or flight you have lived with is only ever meant to be a visitor. The sympathetic surge that braces you was designed to spike and pass. A brief, bright alarm, not a way of life. Modern days simply keep ringing the bell long after the lion is gone. But the body never lost its other gear. It has only been waiting for permission to use it. Tonight, the hum is that permission. A small, steady note that lets the long alarm finally, gratefully, fall quiet. You can feel the handover happening if you listen softly. As the vagus nerve takes over, the signs are gentle and real. A slight warming in the hands, a loosening in the jaw, a breath that arrives deeper without being asked. These are not in your imagination. They are the parasympathetic state coming forward. The body shifting its weight. You do not have to chase the calm or check whether it has come. You only have to keep making the low sound. And notice, without effort, the quiet arriving, the hum, is a kindness you can give yourself with nothing in your hands. So much of stress relief is sold as effort, more discipline, more practice, more striving toward peace. But the vagus nerve asks for the opposite of striving. It answers a soft sound and a slow breath out. The most undemanding things a tired body can offer. There is relief in knowing that the way down is not one more task to perform well, but simply a gentle vibration you allow to happen. Again and again, what you are doing tonight is older than language and simpler than thought. Before humans had words, they had sound. The low tones a mother makes over a restless child. The wordless humming that has soothed bodies in every culture on earth. That instinct was right all along. It was reaching, without knowing the anatomy, for the same nerve you are reaching for now. You are not learning something new. You are remembering something the body knew before you were ever old enough to forget it. The switch does not wear out, no matter how many times you use it, unlike a pill that fades or a habit that loses its grip. The vagus nerve may grow more responsive, the more gently and often you engage it. Researchers call the trait vagal tone, and they suggest it may be strengthened with practice. Like quiet muscle, each night you hum yourself down. You make tomorrow's calm a little easier to find. The off switch is not only always there, with use, it answers faster, and the road home grows shorter. You are not behind, and you are not too far gone. A nervous system that has been braced for years is not ruined. It is simply out of practice at resting. And practice is something you can begin at any age, in any state. Starting now, the body holds no grudge for the long alarm it kept. It is ready, the moment you give it the signal, to remember its other half. There is no deadline on this calm. The throat that can hum tonight is enough. Everything you have followed tonight points back to one small, private place, the soft column of your own throat, where a low sound can change the weather of an entire body. The monks knew it. The singers knew it. Now you know it too. Not as a fact to admire, but as a thing to do. The longest nerve in your body has been waiting all along to carry you home. It asks for so little. Only a hum. Only a breath. Only your willingness to stop bracing. So let the day's long alarm settle down at last. You were never meant to carry this tension into the dark, and you were never without the way out. It lived in your throat the whole time. Always yours. Tonight, you don't have to fix yourself or earn your rest. You only have to let a low hum gather and fade, and feel the body. Remember, it is safe to stop. The calmest hearts on earth are bodies that learned to come home. And tonight, so do you. We arrive at the end, exactly where we began, at the soft column of your own throat. Only now, you know what is hidden there. Along the way, you felt how a branch of the vagus nerve runs straight through your voice box, so that a low hum reaches the nervous system as plainly as a hand feels warmth. You learned that every exhale already presses a gentle break on the heart, and a hum simply lengthens it. What seemed like a secret kept by monks and singers turned out to be an off switch installed in you. Asking only to be used, you leave tonight with something you did not have before. The quiet certainty that calm is not a place you must reach, but a switch you already carry, and that 2 soft minutes of humming are enough to find it. If this low, simple hum loosened even a little of the weight your body has been bracing against, you might keep it close for the nights. The old alarm rises again, and if you know someone whose chest has been holding its breath all day, a quiet word about this could be a gift. We will keep gathering these small, true ways home, for anyone who needs them, somewhere in your throat now. A low note is still warm. The way a bell stays warm after it has been struck. You don't have to summon it. Let one slow breath out. Carry the faintest hum, more felt than heard, and notice the vibration spreading down through your chest. loosening the long alarm of the day. There is nothing left to brace against here. Let your entire being dissolve into that soft, low sound, into the warm hum already moving through you, until the boundary between the sound and the rest of you quietly gives way, and you remember, without effort, that you are always safe enough to stop. Let the hum fade now into ordinary breath, the warmth in your throat sinking down through your whole body like heat settling into still water. With each breath out, the last of the day's bracing leaves you, the heart slowing of its own accord, the alarm finally quiet. There is nowhere to be, and nothing to hold. The vagus nerve will keep its gentle watch while you rest. The Deep Sleep Guided by Mind Science playlist has been carrying tired bodies home to themselves, one quiet truth at a time. And the next video carries this further. Another small question about why the calmest among us are calm at all. That video is waiting. Whenever you are ready, let your eyes stay closed. There is nothing more they need to do tonight. Only rest. Sleep now. Quiet one. The off switch was always yours. Rest easy with Mind Science. And good night.